What if everything you thought you knew about history, religion, and human civilization was only part of the story? Behind the sacred walls of the Vatican lies a world few have ever glimpsed, a world of forbidden knowledge, hidden relics, and secret archives that could rewrite everything we believe about humanity. For centuries, the Church has guarded secrets so profound, so powerful, that their revelation could shake the foundations of science, politics, and even faith itself. Today, we step beyond the golden halls and shadowed corridors to uncover the Vatican's darkest mysteries, truths that have been hidden from the world for generations. Stay with us, because what you're about to discover is more shocking than anything you've ever imagined. Beneath the heart of Vatican City, under layers of marble, stone, and centuries of prayer, there exists a place most of the world will never see, a place where history does not rest peacefully, but sleeps uneasily sealed, guarded, and deliberately hidden. Imagine standing inside corridors where the air feels heavier, where documents older than nations whisper secrets powerful enough to shake belief itself. For decades, rumors have claimed that what lies beneath St. Peter's Basilica is not just an archive, but a vault of forbidden truth. And if even a fraction of these claims are real, then everything we think we know about history, faith, and power may be incomplete. The foundations of St. Peter's Basilica are more than architectural marvels. Beneath them lies a complex network of chambers, passageways, and sealed rooms that date back centuries. While the Vatican officially acknowledges the existence of archives and crypts, insiders and historians claim there are deeper sections, areas absent from maps, unlisted in records, and inaccessible even to high-ranking clergy. These hidden chambers are said to contain documents deemed too dangerous for public knowledge. Texts locked away not to protect history, but to control it. According to researchers who have studied fragments of Vatican records, some of these sealed documents date back to the earliest days of Christianity, before the Bible was finalized, before doctrine was standardized, before faith became institution. Letters allegedly written by early followers of Jesus, alternative accounts of his life, and testimonies that contradict the official narrative are rumored to exist in these depths. If released, they could fundamentally alter how the world understands the origins of Christianity. One of the most chilling aspects of these underground archives is the level of security surrounding them. Entry is strictly limited. Access requires layers of authorization, personal approval, and sometimes lifelong silence. Even among Vatican officials, only a select few are granted clearance, and those who speak measured words. Over the years, several scholars who requested deeper access reported being denied without explanation. Some later claimed their research was quietly blocked, their publications discouraged, or their careers stalled. Why such extreme secrecy? The Vatican states that these archives are protected to preserve delicate materials and maintain historical integrity. But critics argue that preservation does not require concealment. They point to reports of documents labeled non-consultable, sealed indefinitely, with no explanation offered. Some files are said to be restricted, not for decades, but forever. That raises an unsettling question. What information could be so destabilizing that humanity is deemed unready to know it? Legends surrounding these underground vaults go even further. Some claim the chambers house ancient warnings, records of catastrophic cycles in human history, knowledge of previous civilizations that rose and fell long before recorded time. Others suggest there are documents describing events that contradict accepted timelines, including advanced knowledge of astronomy, technology, and global catastrophes. These are not just religious texts, but records of human existence that challenge the official version of our past. Perhaps most disturbing are whispers that certain discoveries force the Vatican to choose secrecy over truth. If early Christianity was shaped by selective storytelling, if entire chapters of human history were erased to preserve order and authority, then faith itself may have been constructed atop carefully chosen narratives. The underground archives, according to some insiders, are not simply about religion, they are about power, control, and the management of belief. Over the years, restoration work beneath St. Peter's Basilica has occasionally fueled speculation. Workers have reported sealed doors behind walls, passageways abruptly ending, and reinforced stone and areas they were instructed not to approach. These accounts are rarely documented, but they persist passed quietly from one worker to another, from historian to researcher, from rumor to legend. Each story adds another layer to the mystery, suggesting that what lies beneath is not meant to be disturbed. What makes this secrecy even more unsettling is timing throughout history. Moments of global crisis wars, revolutions, societal collapse have coincided with intensified Vatican silence. Access tightens, requests are denied, records remain locked. Some believe this is deliberate, that the information below St. Peter's Basilica is not just historical, but predictive knowledge of cycles humanity is doomed to repeat. Whether these underground archives contain suppressed gospels, erased civilizations, or truths that challenge the foundations of belief, one thing is undeniable: something is being protected, something powerful enough to justify centuries of secrecy, layers of security, and unwavering silence. The deeper you look, the clearer it becomes that the Vatican's darkest secrets may not lie in what it teaches, but in what it refuses to reveal. And if this is only what lies beneath the Basilica, then the question becomes far more terrifying. What other truths are hidden behind locked doors, guarded not by walls alone, but by silence itself? Behind the walls of Vatican City exists a place so restricted, so carefully controlled, that even its name inspires unease, officially known as the Vatican Apostolic Archive. It has long been referred to by another name, one that carries a far darker weight, for centuries. This archive has been the epicenter of speculation, fear, and forbidden knowledge, not because it preserves history, but because it decides which history the world is allowed to know. Imagine endless corridors lined with shelves stretching beyond sight, filled with documents that predate modern nations, languages, and belief systems. Handwritten manuscripts, sealed letters, coded scrolls, and classified records rest in climate-controlled silence. These are not ordinary archives. Every page, every seal, every restricted file represents a choice: what humanity may learn and what must remain hidden. The Vatican maintains that the archive exists to protect fragile documents and ensure scholarly accuracy. But historians who have been granted limited access tell a different story. They describe entire sections marked as non-consultable, documents cataloged but forbidden, and files sealed with no expiration date. Some scholars report that once they began asking certain questions, their access was abruptly revoked. Others found key documents missing entirely, referenced in older indexes but absent from shelves. Among the most controversial materials rumored to be stored here are early Christian records that contradict the official narrative, letters from bishops who opposed Rome's authority, testimonies describing alternative interpretations of Jesus' teachings, and theological debates that were settled not by truth but by power. If these texts were revealed, they could dismantle the idea of a single, unified origin of Christianity, exposing a faith shaped through political struggle rather than divine clarity. The archive is also believed to contain correspondence between popes and world leaders spanning centuries. These letters allegedly reveal secret alliances, silent approvals of wars, and manipulations of global events carried out behind closed doors. While the Vatican denies such claims, fragments of declassified material have already proven that the Church held immense geopolitical influence, often acting as a silent power broker during moments of global instability. One of the most disturbing rumors involves documents related to suppressed scientific knowledge. Text describing astronomical observations far ahead of their time. Records of ancient mathematical systems and early theories about the nature of reality itself are said to exist within the archive. Critics argue that such knowledge threatened church authority and was therefore buried rather than shared. In this view, the archive is not a vault of history but a graveyard of progress. Security inside the Vatican archive is absolute. Surveillance is constant. Movement is tracked. Access is logged down to the minute. Only a handful of scholars are permitted entry at any given time, and even they are monitored. Photography is forbidden. Copies are limited. Some documents may be read but never touched. Others may be seen but never studied. The archive does not simply restrict access. It controls interpretation. Whispers persist of a deeper layer beyond the known archive, a place rumored to exist beneath the cataloged collections, accessible only to the highest authorities. This inner vault is said to contain the most dangerous knowledge of all texts, so destabilizing that the release could fracture belief systems worldwide. Some claim these include prophecies, records of cataclysmic events, or proof that humanity's history is far older and more complex than accepted timelines allow. Former Vatican insiders who have spoken anonymously describe a culture of silence reinforced by fear. Breaking confidentiality is not just forbidden, it is unthinkable. Careers end. Reputations vanish. In some cases, individuals who claim to possess sensitive information later disappeared from public life altogether, whether coincidence or consequence. The pattern only deepens suspicion. The true power of the Vatican archive lies not in what it contains, but in what it withholds. By controlling access to history, it shapes belief. By deciding which narratives survive, it defines reality. This is not merely an archive. It is a mechanism of authority refined over centuries, perfected through silence, and as long as its deepest shelves remain sealed. One question will continue to haunt humanity. What truths are locked away in the Vatican archive, not because they are false, but because they are too real to be revealed? Long before the Bible became a single unified book, Christianity existed in chaos. Dozens of texts circulated among early believers, stories, letters, testimonies, and teachings that painted radically different pictures of faith, divinity, and salvation. Some spoke of a Jesus who taught inner awakening rather than obedience. Others described knowledge as the path to liberation, not blind belief. These writings were once read openly, copied carefully, and revered deeply. Then, without warning, many of them vanished. What the world now calls the lost Gospels were not destroyed by accident. They were excluded by decision. In the first centuries after Christ, church leaders gathered to determine which texts would become sacred scripture and which would be erased from history. Councils debated fiercely, not only about theology, but about power. Which version of Jesus would define Christianity? A divine authority to be obeyed, or a teacher urging humanity to seek truth within? Texts, such as the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, and the Gospel of Judas, were among those condemned. These writings challenged the emerging hierarchy of the church. They portrayed Jesus as a guide rather than a ruler, emphasized personal spiritual insight over institutional authority, and granted women roles that threatened patriarchal control. Most dangerously, they suggested that divine knowledge was accessible to all, not mediated by priests or doctrine. The Vatican has long claimed that these Gospels were excluded because they were heretical or unreliable, but historians who study early Christianity argue otherwise. Many of these texts were written within the same time period as the accepted Gospels, sometimes even earlier. Linguistic analysis and carbon dating reveal that they were not late forgeries, but authentic voices. From Christianity's formative years, their exclusion appears less about accuracy and more about control. Perhaps the most unsettling aspect of the lost Gospels is how closely they align with suppressed philosophical traditions, concepts of inner enlightenment, spiritual awakening, and the illusion of material authority echo ancient teachings from Egypt, Greece, and the East. This suggests that early Christianity was far more diverse, interconnected, and philosophically rich than the simplified version later presented by removing these texts. The Church may have narrowed faith into obedience rather than understanding. Fragments of these Gospels survived only by chance. Hidden in desert caves, buried in jars, or preserved by isolated communities, they escaped total destruction. The discovery of the Nag Hammadi Library in 1945 sent shockwaves through religious scholarship. Suddenly, texts long dismissed as myths were physically present, undeniable proof that alternative Christian teachings once flourished. Yet, even after their discovery, these writings remained largely absent from mainstream religious discussion. Why were believers never encouraged to read them? Why do churches rarely acknowledge their content? Some scholars believe that if these Gospels were widely known, they would fundamentally change how people view authority, sin, salvation, and even the nature of God. The power of the Church would shift from mediator of truth to participant in dialogue. The Vatican's silence on the lost Gospels is as telling as their disappearance. While some texts have been studied academically, they are often framed as curiosities rather than challenges to doctrine. Their deeper implications are downplayed. Their radical ideas soften. It is a quiet dismissal, but an effective one. What makes this even more disturbing is the possibility that not all lost Gospels have been found. Some researchers believe complete texts still exist within sealed Vatican archives, inaccessible to scholars and the public alike. If true, then the history of Christianity may still be incomplete intentionally so. The lost Gospels remind us that faith was once fluid, debated, and alive. Their suppression was not just an act of theological curation, but a turning point where belief became authority and knowledge became dangerous. And as long as these voices remain marginalized or hidden, one question refuses to fade. What version of truth was the world never meant to hear throughout history? Prophecies have shaped fear, hope, and obedience. But few are surrounded by as much secrecy as those allegedly hidden within Vatican walls. Beyond the well-known biblical predictions lies a shadowy collection of unreleased visions, apocalyptic warnings, and forbidden forecasts said to be locked away, unseen by the public. These prophecies are rumored not to inspire faith, but to terrify those who read them because they do not speak in metaphor, but in consequence. According to accounts from theologians and former insiders, the Vatican possesses prophetic texts that describe humanity's future with unsettling clarity. Unlike symbolic scripture, these writings allegedly outline cycles of collapse, mass suffering, and global transformation. They speak of rising false authority, engineered belief, and moments when truth is deliberately hidden to preserve order. Some claim these prophecies are so specific that revealing them could destabilize societies, triggering fear rather than preparation. One of the most disturbing elements of these hidden prophecies is their consistency across cultures and centuries. Ancient Christian visions reportedly align with predictions found in suppressed Jewish writings, early Islamic manuscripts, and even non-religious ancient sources. They describe recurring ages of darkness, technological overreach, moral decay, and sudden correction events, suggesting that history may not be linear, but cyclical. If true, then humanity may be trapped in patterns it refuses to recognize. The Vatican has officially acknowledged only a fraction of prophetic material. What remains sealed is said to include warnings about humanity's misuse of power, particularly knowledge it does not fully understand. Some interpretations suggest that civilization advances only to the point where it destabilizes itself, prompting collapse, reset, and rebirth. These ideas mirror forbidden ancient philosophies that describe multiple fallen civilizations erased from memory. Why would such prophecies be hidden? Critics argue that knowledge of inevitable collapse undermines authority. If people believe events are unavoidable, obedience falters. Faith shifts from institutions to individual preparation. Control weakens. By suppressing certain visions, the Vatican may be attempting to preserve social stability, even at the cost of truth. Insiders claim that some prophecies specifically address the Church itself. Warnings of internal corruption, moral decay, and loss of spiritual authority are said to be documented in ancient texts sealed from public view. These writings allegedly predict periods when the Church becomes more political than spiritual. More concerned with survival than salvation, releasing such prophecies would not only challenge belief, it would challenge legitimacy. Perhaps most unsettling are rumors of time-linked prophecies. Predictions that align with real historical events long after they were written. Wars, plagues, collapses of empires, and technological shifts allegedly appear in these texts with alarming accuracy. Skeptics dismiss this as reinterpretation after the fact, but scholars who have studied fragments argue the specificity is too precise to ignore. The Vatican's response to such claims has always been silence. No confirmations, no denials, no explanations, just locked doors and restricted access. This silence has fueled speculation that the prophecies are not false, but dangerous. What if these hidden visions reveal not divine punishment, but human consequence? Not judgment, but inevitability. If the future is shaped by repeating mistakes, then prophecy is not prediction, it is warning. And perhaps the greatest secret is not what the prophecies say, but why humanity is still being protected from hearing them. Because if the Vatican truly possesses visions of what lies ahead and chooses to keep them hidden, then the question becomes chillingly simple. Are we being spared, or are we being kept unprepared? In 1917, 3 young shepherd children in Fatima, Portugal claimed they were visited by a radiant figure who delivered messages that would change history. These messages, later known as the 3 Secrets of Fatima, were said to contain divine warnings about humanity's future. While 2 of the secrets were eventually revealed to the public, the third was hidden away for decades, sealed in Vatican custody, and surrounded by an atmosphere of fear, contradiction, and deliberate silence. From the moment it was written down, the third secret became one of the most controversial mysteries in modern religious history. According to official statements, the third secret was recorded by Sister Lucia and delivered to the Vatican under strict instructions that it should not be revealed until a specific time. That time came and went, yet the Vatican refused to release it. Popes read it, reflected on it, and then chose silence. Witnesses later claim that those who read the document were visibly shaken, some allegedly refusing to speak about its contents ever again if the secret was benign. Critics ask. When the Vatican finally released what it claimed was the full third secret in 2000, many scholars and theologians were unconvinced. The text described a symbolic vision of a bishop dressed in white, walking through a devastated city, followed by martyrdom and suffering. While dramatic, it felt incomplete, more like an allegory than a direct warning. Crucially, Sister Lucia had previously indicated that the secret included words spoken by the Virgin Mary, yet the released version contained no such dialogue. This inconsistency fueled speculation that the Vatican withheld part of the message. Some believe the unreleased portion warned of corruption within the Church itself, a crisis of faith, or a loss of spiritual authority originating from within the Vatican. Others suggested foretold global catastrophe, war, societal collapse, or an event so destabilizing that revealing it could cause mass panic. Former church officials have hinted that the third secret was not about distant future events, but about an imminent moral and spiritual crisis. According to these accounts, the message described a time when truth would be obscured, faith would be manipulated, and humanity would be led astray by false certainty. If such a warning directly implicated institutional power, it would explain decades of suppression. What makes the third secret especially unsettling is how closely it aligns with modern events, wars, ideological division, erosion of trust, and widespread disillusionment with authority mirror the conditions described in earlier interpretations of the secret. Some researchers argue that the prophecy was not symbolic at all, but painfully literal. Sister Lucia herself added to the mystery. After writing down the secret, her public statements became increasingly restricted. Communication was controlled. Interviews were rare. When she did speak, her words were cautious, measured, and often ambiguous. Critics believe this was not coincidence, but containment and effort to ensure that the full truth never reached the public. Even within the Vatican, debate over the third secret reportedly caused deep division. Some believed it should be revealed as a warning. Others argued secrecy was necessary to prevent chaos. Ultimately, silence won, but silence has consequences. By choosing not to fully disclose the message, the Vatican allowed speculation to grow unchecked, transforming a spiritual warning into one of history's most haunting mysteries, more than a century later. The third secret of Fatima remains unresolved, whether partially revealed, fully hidden, or intentionally reinterpreted. It stands as a symbol of withheld truth, a message meant for humanity, locked away behind authority and fear. And if the third secret truly warned of a crisis still unfolding, then the most unsettling possibility is this: the prophecy may not belong to the past. It may be happening right now, and the world was never meant to hear the warning in time, for centuries. The Vatican has presented itself as a guardian of spiritual truth, yet behind its walls linger accusations. Far more unsettling claims that knowledge capable of transforming civilization was deliberately buried. Beyond theology and prophecy, whispers persist that the Church once possessed scientific understanding, so advanced, so disruptive, that it threatened not only doctrine, but the very structure of power itself. And when belief and discovery collided, belief was allowed to survive. Discovery was not. During the early Middle Ages, Europe entered a period often described as intellectual darkness. Yet historians now question whether this decline was natural or enforced. Ancient texts from Greece, Egypt, Mesopotamia, and Rome describe sophisticated mathematics, astronomy, medicine, and engineering knowledge far ahead of its time. Many of these works vanished as Christianity spread, absorbed, or dismantled earlier systems of understanding. Critics argue this was not coincidence, but suppression. The Vatican officially claims that science and faith can coexist, but history tells a harsher story. Figures like Galileo were silenced, not because they were wrong, but because they were correct too soon. His discoveries threatened biblical interpretations and, more importantly, the Church's authority as the ultimate source of truth. Galileo survived, but his warning echoed. Knowledge that contradicts power becomes dangerous. According to controversial researchers, the Vatican's archives contain text describing technologies that mirror modern advancements: electrical systems, mechanical automation, advanced optics, and even early concepts resembling energy transmission without wires. These documents allegedly originate from ancient civilizations whose capabilities rivaled or exceeded our own. If true, humanity may not be progressing forward, but rediscovering what was once erased. One of the most disturbing allegations involves ancient astronomical records. Some claim the Church possesses star maps that accurately chart celestial movements thousands of years before such calculations should have been possible. These maps reportedly describe planetary alignments, cosmic cycles, and catastrophic events tied to celestial mechanics. If released, they could challenge mainstream timelines and suggest that ancient civilizations understood the universe far more deeply than modern science admits. Why would such knowledge be hidden? Critics argue that advanced science destabilizes belief systems built on obedience. If humanity understands its place in the cosmos too clearly, fear diminishes, and with it, control. The Church's early dominance relied not just on faith, but on being the sole interpreter of reality. Independent knowledge threatened that monopoly. Legends also persist of mechanical devices and artifacts locked away objects described in ancient texts, but never publicly displayed. Some speak of machines capable of precise measurement, timekeeping, beyond known technology, or unexplained energy manipulation. While dismissed as myth, the consistency of these claims across unrelated sources raises unsettling questions. Even medical knowledge may have been suppressed. Ancient surgical techniques, herbal sciences, and anatomical understanding were once advanced, yet lost or ignored during centuries of church dominance. Critics argue that preserving suffering maintained reliance on spiritual salvation over physical healing. The Vatican denies all such allegations, yet declassified fragments, historical patterns, and deliberate gaps in knowledge suggest a different reality. Entire centuries of progress vanished, only to be rediscovered later. Was this coincidence or design? If forbidden science truly exists within Vatican vaults, then humanity's past has been carefully edited. Progress delayed, discovery rationed, curiosity controlled, and the cost of that control may still be unfolding today. Because if knowledge was once buried to preserve faith, then one haunting question remains. What discoveries are still hidden not because they are false, but because they would change everything we believe about who we are, where we came from, and how far we could have gone? Beneath the ancient streets of Rome, far below the crowds and the noise of modern life, exists a hidden world few have ever seen. A shadow network of tunnels, passageways, and sealed corridors is rumored to stretch outward from the Vatican itself, weaving through the city like veins beneath stone. Officially, these underground routes are dismissed as legends or misinterpretations of old catacombs. Yet testimonies from historians, architects, and former insiders suggest something far more deliberate and far more secretive. The Vatican is known to sit atop layers of ancient Rome, including pagan temples, imperial structures, and early Christian burial grounds. But beneath these known foundations, there are claims of engineered tunnels, built not for burial, but for movement. Some are said to connect directly to distant basilicas, monasteries, and even former papal residences. Others allegedly lead to unknown chambers sealed centuries ago, erased from official records. Historically, such tunnels would have served a clear purpose. During times of invasion, rebellion, or political instability, secret passageways offered escape, concealment, and untraceable travel. Popes, cardinals, and powerful figures could vanish beneath the city without ever appearing in public streets. But critics argue these tunnels were not merely defensive, they were strategic tools of secrecy and control. Accounts from restoration workers and archaeologists describe finding sealed doorways behind walls, staircases leading nowhere, and corridors abruptly ending and reinforced stone. In some cases, workers were ordered to stop immediately, their discoveries undocumented and quietly concealed. These interruptions were not explained. The message was clear. Some paths were not meant to be explored. Even more unsettling are rumors that certain tunnels were used for concealment rather than escape. Documents and artifacts deemed too dangerous for exposure were allegedly transported underground, moved silently between vaults without record. Some believe individuals, witnesses, dissenters, or those who uncovered forbidden truths may have disappeared into these passageways, never to be seen again, while no proof exists. The pattern of unexplained vanishing fuels, dark speculation. The Vatican has acknowledged the existence of catacombs, but firmly denies any extensive tunnel system beyond known burial sites. Yet independent surveys using ground-penetrating radar around Vatican City have reportedly detected anomalies, voids, and linear structures inconsistent with natural formations. These findings were never fully released, their interpretations quietly shelved. What deepens the mystery is how these tunnels intersect with moments of historical crisis. During wars, invasions, and political upheaval, Vatican movement records become sparse. Certain figures vanish from public view only to reappear later, unharmed and unexplained. Some historians believe the tunnels allowed the church to preserve continuity of power while the world above descended into chaos. There are also whispers of forbidden chambers accessed only through these passageways. Rooms containing sealed artifacts, restricted texts, or relics never meant for public veneration. If true, these tunnels are not just routes, they are guardians of secrecy, protecting knowledge deemed too powerful, too dangerous, or too destabilizing to release. The psychological weight of such hidden infrastructure cannot be ignored. A system designed for invisibility fosters a culture of silence when movement itself is concealed. Accountability disappears. Actions leave no trace. Truth becomes optional. Whether these tunnels serve as relics of survival or instruments of secrecy, their rumored existence challenges the image of transparency the Vatican presents. Beneath the holiest ground in Christianity may lie a network built not on faith, but on fear. Fear of exposure, loss of control, and truths that refuse to remain buried. And if these passageways truly exist, still sealed and guarded, then one haunting question remains unanswered. What? Or who? Were they really built to hide? Hidden behind locked doors and guarded vaults, the Vatican is rumored to possess objects so ancient and unsettling that they are never displayed, never discussed, and never acknowledged publicly. These are not ordinary religious relics meant to inspire devotion. They are artifacts said to carry histories of power, fear, and phenomena that defy explanation. For centuries, whispers have circulated that the Church has quietly collected items not to venerate them, but to keep them away from the world throughout history. Conquering powers have always seized artifacts of significance, as Christianity spread across Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. Countless pagan temples, ancient libraries, and sacred sites were dismantled or absorbed. Objects once revered by older civilizations disappeared into church custody. Critics argue that many of these relics were not destroyed, but preserved because their properties were too extraordinary to discard. Among the most infamous rumored artifacts are objects believed to possess supernatural influence. Some accounts describe ancient stones, inscribed with symbols unknown to modern linguistics, said to induce altered states of consciousness in those who handle them. Others speak of metallic devices that emit unexplained vibrations, heat, or electromagnetic effects, objects resembling no known ancient technology. While dismissed as legend, these claims persist across unrelated sources and centuries. One of the most enduring rumors involves relics connected to biblical events, but altered or reinterpreted beyond public doctrine. Items associated with figures like Moses, Solomon, or early prophets are said to exist in sealed Vatican vaults. Critics claim these artifacts suggest advanced knowledge, energy, manipulation, architectural precision, or astronomical awareness that contradicts conventional understanding of ancient capabilities. The Vatican officially displays only a fraction of its collection. Museums show carefully curated objects that reinforce established narratives. What remains hidden, according to insiders, is far more unsettling. Artifacts labeled non-exhibitable are locked away indefinitely, studied only by a select few. Their existence is neither confirmed nor denied. Perhaps the most disturbing aspect of these rumors is the suggestion that some artifacts were actively removed from circulation to suppress belief systems outside Christianity. Pagan relics, representing ancient gods, cosmic forces, or natural energies, were allegedly confiscated and sealed to prevent alternative interpretations of reality from surviving. In doing so, the Church did not just eliminate competing religions, it buried their physical evidence. There are also stories of artifacts brought to the Vatican from distant lands during the Crusades. Warriors return not only with wealth, but with objects from forgotten civilizations, items that were never recorded, never cataloged publicly. Some researchers believe these artifacts contain knowledge or technology centuries ahead of their time, preserved in Vatican vaults under strict secrecy. Even modern Vatican insiders have hinted at dangerous relics kept under constant monitoring. Objects that, according to rumor, cannot be destroyed, only contained. Items that behave unpredictably influence human perception or defy scientific explanation. While such claims sound implausible, their consistency across accounts raises unsettling questions. If even a fraction of these stories are true, then the Vatican is not merely a spiritual institution. It is a global repository of suppressed human history. A place where evidence of ancient power, knowledge, and belief systems are hidden to preserve a single narrative. And if these artifacts truly exist, locked away beyond public reach, then the most haunting thought is this: humanity may have already discovered the impossible, only to have it sealed behind stone, silence, and centuries of deliberate forgetting. Throughout history, those who get too close to forbidden truth often vanish quietly. No trials, no headlines, no explanations, and within the shadow of the Vatican, the pattern of unexplained disappearances is especially unsettling. Scholars, clergy, archivists, and insiders who claim to uncover dangerous information have, at various moments, simply disappeared from public life, leaving behind unanswered questions and an enduring sense of unease. Officially, the Vatican denies any involvement in such disappearances, yet historians point to cases where individuals researching sensitive topics suddenly lost access, credibility, or visibility. Some were reassigned, others silenced through reputational damage, and in the most disturbing instances, individuals vanished entirely. Their last known locations linked to Vatican territory or church-related institutions. One of the most infamous cases involved a young Vatican citizen whose disappearance remains unresolved decades later. Despite international attention, the case produced no clear answers. Files went missing, testimonies conflicted, leads dissolved. Critics argue that the lack of resolution was not due to incompetence, but obstruction. The case became a symbol of how easily truth can disappear when power refuses transparency. Other accounts describe historians who claim to have seen restricted documents contradicting official doctrine. After publishing preliminary findings or expressing intent to go public, their work stalled. Funding vanished. Access was revoked. In some cases, they recanted publicly, only to withdraw entirely from academic life. Whether fear or coercion drove these decisions remains unknown. There are also whispered stories of clergy who questioned church authority from within. Priests who spoke of hidden texts, internal corruption, or suppressed truths sometimes found themselves isolated, reassigned to remote regions, or removed from positions of influence. Official explanations cited health or personal reasons. Unofficially, insiders describe pressure, surveillance, and unspoken threats. Perhaps most chilling are rumors of archivists and assistants who worked directly within restricted areas. These individuals reportedly had access to sensitive materials without the authority to question them. Some allegedly disappeared after confiding in friends about disturbing discoveries. No records, no public statements, just absence. The Vatican maintains that such stories are exaggerations fueled by conspiracy, but patterns persist. The closer someone gets to the core of restricted knowledge, the more fragile their presence becomes. Careers collapse. Voices fade. Lives are rewritten or erased. Even when disappearances are explained, inconsistencies linger. Dates conflict. Witnesses retract statements. Evidence is lost. Investigations stall. In the rare cases where external authorities intervene, cooperation becomes minimal. Jurisdictional boundaries complicate accountability, creating a space where silence thrives. What makes these cases especially haunting is the psychological aftermath. Fear spreads quietly among researchers. Curiosity becomes caution. Questions go unasked. Knowledge remains untouched, not by force but by consequence. If truth requires sacrifice, then the Vatican's darkest power may not lie in what it hides, but in what it makes people afraid to seek. Disappearance does not always mean death. Sometimes it means being erased professionally, socially, historically, and if those who uncovered forbidden truths were made to vanish, then one unsettling question remains. How many stories were never told? Because the storytellers themselves disappeared into silence. Deep within the Vatican, beyond the public museums, the Grand Basilica, and even the meticulously catalogued archives, there are rumors of secret experiments, research projects. So controversial, so unorthodox, that they have never been acknowledged openly. While the Church presents itself as a spiritual institution, some historians and whistleblowers suggest it has quietly pursued knowledge at the edges of science, consciousness, and reality itself. The experiments are said to range from psychological testing to attempts at manipulating perception and, in rare accounts, even the boundaries of time and matter. These claims are difficult to verify. Documentation, if it exists, is tightly controlled. Researchers who request access are denied without explanation, and some insiders have reportedly been silenced or reassigned. Yet, persistent accounts suggest that certain Vatican officials have long been interested in understanding phenomena that ordinary science cannot explain: visions, apparitions, miraculous events, and anomalous occurrences that defy logic. Some researchers theorize that these experiments were designed to replicate or study such phenomena in a controlled environment. One of the most controversial areas allegedly involves consciousness. According to whistleblowers, the Vatican sought to study the mind's ability to perceive and influence reality, particularly in context of heightened belief or faith. These experiments reportedly included controlled observation of individuals under extreme religious or emotional experiences, monitoring physiological and neurological responses. The goal, some claim, was not only to understand miracles, but to learn how belief could shape perception and perhaps even events themselves. Another layer of alleged research concerns time and historical knowledge. Ancient manuscripts hint at knowledge of cycles, cosmic events, and catastrophic patterns that the Church supposedly studied extensively. Some fringe researchers claim the Vatican attempted to develop ways of predicting or influencing future events based on this knowledge. While such claims border on the impossible, they are echoed by multiple sources who insist that certain texts describe methods for tracking and manipulating patterns across history with surprising accuracy. Technology also appears in these rumors. Hidden devices, some described as resembling modern scientific instruments, were allegedly constructed to amplify perception, measure unexplainable phenomena, or even generate controlled environmental effects. The idea was not just theoretical. Vatican engineers, under tight secrecy, reportedly experimented with mechanisms inspired by ancient texts or rediscovered artifacts. Some devices are said to be capable of effects that ordinary science cannot account for, and researchers who observed them described outcomes that were unsettling, even inexplicable. Perhaps most disturbing are claims that ethical boundaries were repeatedly crossed. Some insiders describe experiments that pushed the limits of human endurance, intentionally exposing participants to fear, isolation, or intense psychological stress to observe outcomes. The stated purpose, according to some testimonies, was to understand faith, resilience, and obedience under extreme conditions. Critics argue that such experiments blur the line between research and manipulation, and raise profound moral questions about secrecy, consent, and power. Even today, whispers persist of vaults containing records of these studies, documentation so secret that not even the Vatican archivist is said to have full access. The descriptions are cryptic, fragments of reports that hint at results, calculations, and theories withheld from public knowledge. In some cases, the notes appear to describe phenomena consistent with paranormal or metaphysical events, though couched in cautious, coded language. The existence of such experiments, if true, reframes the Vatican not merely as a spiritual institution, but as a guardian of forbidden knowledge. The question is no longer just what is hidden, but why? Why study phenomena in secrecy? Why experiment beyond the reach of ethics or accountability? Some theorists suggest that the Church's interest in controlling both belief and knowledge motivated these efforts to harness understanding of the human mind, the universe, and possibly even reality itself. And perhaps the most chilling thought is this: if the Vatican conducted experiments that stretched the limits of consciousness, perception, and time itself, then what they learned may still remain hidden, locked away behind layers of stone, silence, and authority. Humanity may be standing on the edge of knowledge that it is not yet allowed to see, guided not by curiosity, but by centuries of deliberate concealment. The line between faith and science, truth and secrecy, reality and the unknown becomes terrifyingly thin. And when curiosity dares to cross it, history has shown that those who seek answers may find themselves questioning not just the world, but everything they thought they knew about it. Long before Christianity became the dominant religion of the Western world, Europe and the Near East were home to countless belief systems, pagan temples, mystical cults, and secretive philosophical schools that thrived for centuries. These civilizations recorded knowledge about the cosmos, morality, human potential, and hidden energies' wisdom that was often at odds with emerging Christian doctrine. And as the Church consolidated power, much of this knowledge was absorbed, altered, or erased, buried beneath layers of faith, tradition, and silence. The process of assimilation was deliberate. Pagan rituals were often rebranded as Christian holidays. Sacred sites were converted into churches. Ancient texts were copied, edited, or destroyed. What survived was stripped of context, simplified or interpreted through a theological lens that ensured obedience rather than understanding. Scholars argue that this was not merely cultural adaptation, it was control. Knowledge that empowered individuals outside church authority was systematically hidden, and in many cases, eliminated. Some of the most intriguing examples involve mystical traditions, Hermetic texts, Neoplatonic philosophies, and Egyptian wisdom were all considered dangerous because they encouraged direct experience of the divine or promoted knowledge outside clerical mediation. These teachings often describe the human mind as capable of perceiving reality beyond material constraints, hinted at forces in nature that could be harnessed, and even suggested cycles of civilizations rising and falling with cosmic patterns. Such ideas, if widely disseminated, would challenge the Church's claim to exclusive spiritual authority. The Vatican's role in this suppression is complex. On one hand, it preserved fragments of ancient knowledge, ensuring that it was not completely lost. On the other, it actively controlled access, deciding what could be studied, interpreted, or shared. Many surviving texts sit in archives under conditions of extreme secrecy, accessible only to select scholars, who often face strict instructions on what they can reveal. In effect, the Church became both a guardian and a gatekeeper of human knowledge. Archaeological evidence also supports these claims. Hidden inscriptions, recovered codices, and cryptic manuscripts suggest that much of the ancient world's wisdom was relocated into Church custody. In some cases, early Christian leaders actively cataloged these texts, noting their origin and contents but sealing them off from the public. The reasoning, according to scholars, was not ignorance, but fear. Fear that unmediated knowledge could inspire dissent, heresy, or challenges to institutional power. The consequences of this oppression were profound. Knowledge that could have advanced science, ethics, and philosophy for centuries was delayed or lost entirely. Technologies described in these texts, mechanical devices, energy systems, and astronomical calculations, vanished from public record for generations. Spiritual concepts, encouraging personal empowerment or direct communion with the divine, were replaced with hierarchical structures, emphasizing obedience and dogma. Humanity was guided, not by curiosity or discovery, but by controlled revelation. Some researchers suggest that the Vatican continues to hold these ancient teachings in secret. Codices describing cosmology, metaphysical energies, and human consciousness allegedly sit in restricted vaults, referenced only in marginal notes or partial translations. While publicly framed as preservation, the effect is containment. Knowledge exists, but only for those deemed ready, worthy, or loyal enough to access it. The tension between ancient pagan wisdom and church doctrine raises a haunting question. How much of humanity's understanding of itself and the universe has been lost? Not to time, but to deliberate concealment. And if the Vatican controls the key to these secrets, then the boundaries of power extend far beyond faith. They encompass knowledge itself, shaping what is known, what is remembered, and what is forgotten. Ultimately, the absorption and suppression of pagan knowledge underscores a chilling reality. The Vatican was not just building an institution of faith, but a vault of authority, where the past, the present, and possibly the future could be curated, controlled, and hidden from humanity's view. The question remains, what truths librarian and silence, waiting to be rediscovered or perhaps deliberately kept from us forever? For centuries, the Vatican has been portrayed as a spiritual sanctuary, a place where faith guides action and morality governs decisions. Yeah, beneath the serene marble floors and golden mosaics lies a history of political intrigue that rivals the most cunning secular powers. Behind the papal robes and holy ceremonies, the Church has often operated as a master strategist, influencing nations, orchestrating alliances, and suppressing opposition. All while projecting an image of divine impartiality, the Vatican's political power has roots in its unique position. Unlike kings or emperors, popes held spiritual authority that transcended borders, allowing them to shape the actions of rulers without waging war themselves. Through diplomacy, correspondence, and sometimes coercion, the Church could guide events across Europe, the Middle East, and beyond. The tools of this influence were often subtle letters, decrees, secret treaties, but their effects were profound, altering the course of wars, elections, and dynastic succession. Historical records suggest that popes frequently engaged in shadow diplomacy. Cardinals were sent to courts as emissaries, with instructions that often blurred the line between spiritual guidance and political manipulation. Letters between the Vatican and monarchs reveal careful instructions to shape policy, negotiate peace, or even influence succession in favor of those loyal to Rome. While some of these documents are public, many remain sealed, hinting at a network of operations hidden from historical scrutiny. The Church's influence, extended into clandestine intelligence gathering, chronicles, and private letters, suggest that the Vatican maintained a sophisticated network of informants, capable of reporting on rebellions, conspiracies, and court intrigues. Some scholars argue that this network functioned much like a modern intelligence agency, collecting data to protect the Church's interests and maintain stability. The morality of such operations was rarely questioned. Pragmatism often outweighed spiritual guidance. Perhaps most disturbing are the allegations of manipulation that go beyond diplomacy. Reports of targeted censorship, imprisonment, or removal of dissenting voices suggest that power within the Vatican was often defended ruthlessly. Scholar, scientists, and clergy who challenged orthodoxy sometimes disappeared from influence or faced suppression, creating an environment where obedience and secrecy were paramount. The effect was a concentration of knowledge and authority in a small, elite circle. The Vatican also appears to have influenced global finance and trade, often through discreet agreements with merchants, bankers, and rulers. These connections allowed the Church to exert economic control without direct confrontation, shaping markets, resource distribution, and even exploration. Some argue that early global trade routes were guided as much by papal influence as by commercial necessity, demonstrating how deeply intertwined spiritual and temporal power became. Secret treaties and archival documents hint at alliances that were never meant for public knowledge. Agreements between the Vatican and secular rulers sometimes involve protection, intelligence sharing, or intervention and disputes, all conducted quietly to maintain the appearance of spiritual neutrality. In some cases, these actions directly influence the outcomes of wars, rebellions, and political revolutions, leaving little trace outside Vatican records. Even within the Church, internal politics mirrored these external strategies. Papal elections were often hotly contested, with factions maneuvering behind closed doors, employing persuasion, influence, and sometimes coercion. The secrecy surrounding conclaves ensured that power remained concentrated, and historical accounts suggest that these internal maneuvers were as complex and calculated as any battlefield strategy. The cumulative effect of these hidden operations is staggering. While the Vatican projected an image of spiritual guidance, it wielded political influence that rivaled monarchs and empires. Its ability to shape history was not accidental. It was a deliberate strategy, refined over centuries, to maintain control over both belief and worldly power. And yet, despite all this, much remains concealed. Dozens, perhaps hundreds of documents detailing these operations are said to remain sealed within the Vatican's inner archives. These hidden records could reveal not just the scope of the Church's influence, but also decisions and actions that might radically reshape our understanding of history. The question that lingers is chilling. If the Vatican's spiritual authority has always concealed political power, what truths remain hidden from the world? And if centuries of influence were exercised in secrecy, what forces today are guided by decisions made behind those same locked doors throughout its history? The Vatican has accumulated more than just political power or spiritual authority. It is also amassed knowledge of humanity's darkest practices, particularly in the realm of secrecy, ritual, and clandestine societies. From the earliest days of the Church, groups operating outside public view, esoteric sects, heretical movements, and secret brotherhoods captured the Church's attention. Some were suppressed outright, while others were cautiously monitored. Their practices recorded and archived for posterity. These records, many claim, reveal a dimension of human history far more shadowed than conventional accounts allow. One of the most intriguing aspects of these hidden records concerns occult and mystical practices, while the Church publicly condemned witchcraft, alchemy, and pagan rituals. Vatican archives may contain detailed documentation of such practices, observations, interpretations, and even experiments. Scholars who have studied early censored manuscripts suggest that Church officials were not only aware of these practices, but sometimes attempted to understand or replicate them under controlled conditions. Knowledge, it seems, was never entirely destroyed. It was contained. Secret societies are another element of this hidden history. Throughout Europe, organizations operating outside mainstream religion, such as the Rosicrucians, certain Masonic lodges, and clandestine philosophical orders, interacted with or were observed by Church authorities. Reports suggest that detailed intelligence was gathered on rituals, membership, symbols, and networks. Some argue that the Vatican collected these records not merely to condemn heresy, but to study patterns of influence, leadership, and human psychology knowledge that could be used to maintain control over populations. Beyond occultism, the Church also reportedly monitored political conspiracies and revolts. Documents allude to surveillance of dissident groups, radical thinkers, and revolutionary movements. Letters between cardinals and local authorities describe monitoring strategies, interventions to prevent uprisings, and the subtle neutralization of threats. In many cases, this knowledge was recorded with meticulous detail, offering insight into networks of influence, communication, and clandestine planning that would rival modern intelligence operations. Some of the most unsettling claims involve human experimentation and observation. In extreme conditions, all under the guise of understanding faith, obedience, or susceptibility to influence. These experiments were reportedly justified as necessary for spiritual guidance or protection against heresy. But the ethical implications are chilling. Some researchers suggest that these records may still exist, carefully locked away in inaccessible archives. Even legendary events, such as alleged apparitions, unexplained miracles, or supernatural occurrences, were sometimes documented with a clinical precision that goes beyond spiritual interpretation. Vatican scribes reportedly recorded unusual phenomena, noting patterns, repetitions, and environmental conditions. While the Church presented miracles to the faithful selectively, the internal records may contain a far richer data set, potentially revealing phenomena that defy ordinary explanation. The cumulative picture that emerges is one of a church deeply engaged in studying human behavior, power, and secrecy. Knowledge was cataloged, analyzed, and preserved, but never fully released. By monitoring dissent, documenting forbidden practices, and controlling access to critical information, the Vatican effectively became a repository of human experience that spans morality, spirituality, politics, and the occult. What makes these revelations particularly unsettling is the combination of secrecy and longevity. Centuries of collected observations, suppressed knowledge, and hidden records mean that the Vatican may hold insights into human behavior and societal dynamics that no other institution possesses. Decisions made behind these walls may have shaped history in ways we are only beginning to speculate. And yet, despite this power, most of it remains hidden. The public sees only what is curated, approved, or morally instructive. The rest, documents, observations, experiments, and records of practices both human and unnatural, remain sealed, inaccessible, and intentionally obscured. The haunting question, therefore, is this: if the Vatican has quietly preserved knowledge of humanity's darkest practices and most hidden behaviors, what doesn't know about us today, and what truths are still waiting, locked away beyond our reach? For centuries, the Vatican has presented itself as the ultimate arbiter of morality and truth. Its teachings, rituals, and decrees are designed to guide believers toward faith, obedience, and spiritual salvation. Yet, behind the sanctity of these walls, a darker story emerges, one in which knowledge, power, and secrecy intertwine in ways that challenge everything the public has been told. Among the most controversial aspects of this hidden history are alleged records detailing human suffering, manipulation, and the deliberate orchestration of events to preserve authority. Documents rumored to exist in the Vatican archives suggest that the Church has long studied patterns of human behavior, both to inspire faith and to control populations. Some of these records describe how fear, ritual, and the promise of salvation were used to guide decisions, influence choices, and shape morality on a massive scale. By controlling what knowledge is accessible, the Church could manage not just belief, but behavior itself, beyond spiritual influence. These records reportedly include detailed observations of war, famine, disease, and societal collapse. Chroniclers within the Vatican are said to have meticulously noted the causes and consequences of major historical events, analyzing human responses to fear, authority, and catastrophe. The implication is profound. The Church did not merely respond to history, it studied it, cataloged it, and occasionally shaped it, using its knowledge to maintain influence over kingdoms, populations, and even emerging nations. Some of the most disturbing allegations involve interventions and human affairs that were far from benign. Testimonies from former insiders hint at the manipulation of political alliances, suppression of dissenting voices, and strategic concealment of information that could empower ordinary people. In certain cases, entire events may have been guided or at least influenced by decisions made within the Vatican, effectively creating a hidden hand behind the unfolding of history. Even more unsettling are rumors of experimental observation of human psychology under extreme conditions. Some accounts suggest that the Vatican studied obedience, fear, and belief in controlled circumstances, sometimes through indirect methods, sometimes through more direct experimentation. The aim was not only understanding, but control. To learn how humans respond to authority, uncertainty, and moral instruction, and to apply this knowledge to guide populations for centuries. Religious relics, too, played a role in this network of power. Objects thought to carry spiritual authority were reportedly used to inspire obedience, loyalty, or awe. Their significance was amplified by secrecy. The less the faithful knew about the true nature or origin of the relic, the more potent its effect. Scholars argue that the combination of artifacts, ritual, and hidden knowledge created a system of influence that extended far beyond theology into the practical management of society. At the same time, the Vatican allegedly preserved records of events and knowledge too dangerous for public disclosure. These include early discoveries in science, hidden histories of civilizations, and evidence of practices philosophical, technological, or even mystical that challenged conventional understanding of the natural world. By sequestering this knowledge, the Church maintained the appearance of moral authority while controlling the flow of human understanding. What makes this history truly chilling is its longevity. Centuries of observation, experimentation, and strategic concealment have created a repository of knowledge unlike any other. The Vatican archives are said to contain insights into human behavior, historical patterns, and even predictive observations that, if released, could disrupt society, challenge authority, and redefine what humanity knows about itself. Ultimately, the story that emerges is not just one of spiritual guidance. It is one of calculated influence, knowledge management, and the deliberate shaping of human experience. The Vatican was not merely a religious institution. It was a custodian of power, a curator of history, and a vault of truths that few will ever see. And so, the haunting question persists. If the Church has spent centuries controlling not only faith, but knowledge itself, what else remains hidden in silence? What truths about our past, our behavior, and our future are locked away behind doors that no ordinary human may ever enter? The Vatican's most closely guarded secrets are not always physical objects, manuscripts, or artifacts. They are decisions, actions, and knowledge deliberately hidden from the world. Over centuries, the Church has controlled access to information, shaping history not only through faith, but through strategic secrecy, while the public sees ritual, ceremony, and doctrine. Much of what has truly shaped civilization lies behind locked doors, in the archives, or in memories of those who are no longer allowed to speak. One of the most compelling areas of speculation involves the Church's role in concealing historical truths that could challenge prevailing narratives. From evidence of pre-Christian advanced civilizations to technologies lost to time, the Vatican is rumored to have collected records that rewrite history itself. Scholars who have glimpsed fragments speak of maps, diagrams, and manuscripts that suggest knowledge of astronomy, engineering, and natural phenomena far beyond what was publicly known in their eras. While officially framed as preservation, the effect is containment. Humanity glimpses only what it is allowed to understand. Equally mysterious are the alleged prophetic records held in secret beyond the well-known texts, like the Fatima prophecies or writings of saints and mystics. The Vatican reportedly possesses visions, predictions, and warnings never released to the public. Some of these records are said to outline political, social, and environmental events with terrifying accuracy, suggesting knowledge not of divine intervention, but of patterns, cycles, and cause and effect relationships observed over centuries. If true, these texts represent a kind of predictive power, information so sensitive it must remain hidden. The Church's history, with forbidden knowledge, extends into the realm of science and experimentation. According to controversial accounts, experiments were conducted on consciousness, human behavior, and the perception of reality itself. Some were indirect, studying obedience, fear, and faith in controlled conditions. Others allegedly involved artifacts, devices, or phenomena with inexplicable properties. Observers report outcomes that defy conventional understanding, results never published, analyzed only within the vaults of secrecy. Perhaps the most chilling aspect is the intersection of knowledge and disappearance. Throughout history, scholars, clergy, and researchers who accessed restricted materials sometimes vanished from public view. Whether through reassignment, censorship, or disappearance, these events hint at a system that safeguards information with measures beyond mere bureaucracy, an enforcement of silence that ensures certain truths never escape. The Vatican's role as both preserver and concealer raises profound, ethical, and existential questions. How much of human understanding has been delayed or lost because it threatened the institution? How many discoveries, inventions, or truths might have accelerated civilization if not sequestered? And, most unsettlingly, what decisions are still being made in secrecy, shaping the world in ways the public will never know? Even within the Church, insiders acknowledge the power of knowledge. Documents, artifacts, and technologies that could disrupt belief, authority, or societal structure are held with extreme care. The rationale is control, but the effect is profound. Humanity is not only guided spiritually, it is subtly steered by what it is allowed to know, see, and believe. Today, the Vatican continues to function as both a religious center and a repository of secrets. While the faithful focus on doctrine, the true legacy of this institution may lie in what has been hidden texts, objects, knowledge, and events that collectively give the Church a form of insight and influence that few outside its walls can imagine. And the haunting question remains, if centuries of accumulated wisdom, suppressed history, and controlled knowledge exist behind the Vatican's closed doors, what is the cost of keeping it hidden? What truths might we be incapable of facing? And, most importantly, what else is still concealed, quietly shaping our world, our history, and perhaps even our future, without us ever knowing it? The Vatican is not just a city of faith, it is a fortress of secrets, and the deeper you look, the darker, stranger, and more incomprehensible the mysteries become. Humanity may see only the surface, but beneath, a labyrinth of knowledge, power, and concealment waits its full story, still untold. Beyond the surface of Vatican City's iconic domes, towering spires, and gilded halls lies a dimension of history that few outsiders ever glimpse. Scholars, insiders, and investigators have long speculated that the Church's power extends not only over faith and politics, but also over knowledge itself. Knowledge so dangerous, so transformative, that it must be kept from the public eye. For centuries, the Vatican has acted as both guardian and gatekeeper, deciding which truths humanity may access and which remain locked in silence. Much of this hidden knowledge is said to concern civilizations long vanished, technologies lost to time, and ideas so advanced that they challenge our understanding of human progress. Ancient manuscripts, rediscovered texts, and artifacts from Mesopotamia, Egypt, and beyond reportedly reside in restricted archives, carefully cataloged but inaccessible. These records suggest that human history is far richer and far more complicated than the simplified narratives taught publicly. The Church, some researchers claim, has maintained control over this knowledge to shape the story humanity is allowed to tell about itself. One particularly unsettling area involves the study of unexplained phenomena. From miraculous events to reports of supernatural occurrences, the Vatican has allegedly maintained a systematic approach to documenting, analyzing, and sometimes replicating these events. Witness accounts describe objects that defy scientific explanation, writings that predict events with uncanny accuracy, and observations of phenomena that challenge both physics and theology. While the public sees only carefully curated miracles, insiders hint at far deeper investigations into the mechanisms behind these events. The Church's archives also reportedly contain extensive studies of power and influence. From behavioral observations of populations to political interventions, these documents suggest the Vatican has been less a passive observer of history than an active architect. Revolutions, wars, alliances, and even societal shifts may have been influenced sometimes subtly, sometimes directly, by those with access to knowledge few others could comprehend. The control of information, as much as spiritual authority, has historically ensured the Church's continuity and dominance. Even more disturbing are allegations regarding secret experiments with human subjects. According to controversial sources, the Vatican once conducted studies on obedience, fear, perception, and cognition, sometimes under religious or ritualized conditions. These experiments reportedly explored the limits of belief, the physiological and psychological effects of faith, and the extent to which authority could shape thought and behavior. While framed as spiritual inquiry, the ethical implications are profound, hinting at a shadow side of knowledge. Seeking that few have ever acknowledged, artifacts play a crucial role in this hidden network of power. Objects with historical, technological, or metaphysical significance are said to be preserved under conditions of extreme secrecy. Some are linked to ancient civilizations whose understanding of the cosmos, energy, and human potential exceeded contemporary capabilities. Others allegedly possess properties that, if revealed, could disrupt accepted science, challenge religious orthodoxy, or alter human perception of reality itself. Perhaps the most haunting aspect is the culture of enforced silence. Researchers, archivists, and clerics who encounter sensitive information are often bound by strict confidentiality with careers, reputations, and sometimes freedom at risk for disclosure. This culture of secrecy ensures that even if the knowledge exists, it remains inaccessible, leaving the public unaware of discoveries, manipulations, and truths that might otherwise reshape the world. The consequences of this concealment are staggering. Humanity may have walked through centuries of progress blindfolded, denied access to technologies, philosophies, or insights that could have accelerated science, medicine, and understanding. Social, spiritual, and intellectual development may have been deliberately guided or stalled by the careful control of information. Ultimately, the Vatican emerges as more than a spiritual authority. It is a repository, a laboratory, and a vault, a place where history, knowledge, and power converge in ways the public is rarely allowed to see. And as modern researchers continue to investigate, the question that lingers is unavoidable. If the Church has spent centuries curating, controlling, and sometimes concealing humanity's deepest knowledge, what truths are still waiting to emerge? What will it mean when one day the secrets behind these walls are finally revealed? The Vatican is more than a city or an institution. It is a labyrinth of secrecy, and within its hidden corridors lie mysteries that could redefine what humanity believes about itself, its past, and its future. The question remains: are we ready to face the truths that have been kept from us for centuries? Or will some knowledge remain forever beyond reach? For centuries, the Vatican has presented itself as a beacon of faith, morality, and spiritual guidance. Pilgrims travel from around the world to experience its sacred halls, its grand basilicas, and its priceless works of art. But beneath the surface of devotion and ceremony lies a far more complex and far darker dimension of influence. Hidden within the Vatican's archives and secret vaults may be knowledge, artifacts, and records so potent that their existence challenges our understanding of history, power, and even human potential. Much of this hidden history concerns forbidden knowledge. Texts from ancient civilizations, Egyptian, Sumerian, and Greco-Roman, are said to have been preserved in secret by the Church. These works allegedly detail technologies, cosmologies, and philosophies that surpass the understanding of their own times, describing astronomical calculations, advanced engineering, and methods of harnessing natural forces, while publicly the Church emphasized faith over reason. Privately, it appears to have acted as a repository for human knowledge, carefully controlling access to information that might challenge spiritual or political authority. Some researchers suggest that the Vatican's interest in such knowledge was not merely academic. Documents and artifacts indicate a focus on human consciousness, perception, and influence. Allegedly, experiments were conducted to study obedience, belief, and the human mind's ability to perceive reality under extreme or controlled conditions. These studies, though framed as spiritual inquiry, hint at a pursuit of practical power, understanding how thought, perception, and faith could shape behavior and potentially manipulate societies. Equally compelling are reports of esoteric relics stored within the Vatican. Unlike public relics, these items are not displayed or celebrated. They are sealed away, sometimes in crypts or vaults, for centuries. Some are said to carry unexplained properties, from altering perception to demonstrating energies unknown to contemporary science. Others may contain encoded information from ancient civilizations, a knowledge deliberately kept from the world until humanity is deemed ready or controlled enough to receive it. The Vatican's political influence intersects with these secrets. Historical records suggest that popes and cardinals strategically shaped European politics, from dynastic successions to diplomatic alliances, while controlling information about discoveries, events, or dissenting voices. The Church did not merely guide faith that shaped power, often invisibly, ensuring that both spiritual and temporal authority remained firmly within its reach. Those who questioned this authority sometimes disappeared from influence, their discovery suppressed, their voices silenced. Even today, the culture of secrecy persists. Restricted access to the Vatican's archives, the control of artifacts, and the preservation of sensitive documents suggest that the Church continues to manage information on a global scale. Scholars who glimpse fragments report being bound by strict confidentiality, and some accounts hint at enforcement measures for those who stray too close to forbidden knowledge. In effect, secrecy itself becomes a tool of power, protecting not only the Church, but also the knowledge it contains. The ethical implications are staggering. Humanity may have walked through centuries of progress without access to discoveries, inventions, or philosophies that were deliberately withheld. Knowledge of ancient technologies, advanced science, or even consciousness could have altered civilization long ago by controlling what is known and what is concealed. The Vatican has shaped not only faith, but history itself. And yet, despite these secrets, curiosity endures. Investigators, historians, and whistleblowers continue to probe the hidden depths of the Church's archives, risking careers and reputations to uncover fragments of truth. Each discovery hints at a larger, more intricate network of knowledge, influence, and power than most could imagine. The ultimate question is unavoidable. If the Vatican has spent centuries guarding the secrets of civilizations, human consciousness, and forbidden knowledge, what lies ahead when these truths are finally revealed? What impact would it have on faith, science, and the understanding of our own history? The Vatican is more than a spiritual center. It is a labyrinth of secrecy, a vault of knowledge, and a guardian of truths humanity may not yet be ready to confront. Behind its sacred doors, the past, present, and possibly the future converge, waiting silently, as the world above remains unaware of the power held in the shadows. What else remains hidden within these walls? And how long will humanity continue to walk in the light while secrets of unimaginable magnitude are kept in darkness? Beneath the gleaming marble floors, majestic basilicas, and meticulously curated halls of the Vatican lies a shadow world that few have glimpsed around, where secrecy, knowledge, and power converge. For centuries, the Church has cultivated an image of divine authority and moral guidance, but historians, insiders, and investigative researchers suggest that a far more complex narrative exists. Behind the rituals and proclamations are layers of concealed truth, hidden artifacts, and forbidden knowledge that the Vatican has guarded with unwavering vigilance. One of the most fascinating aspects of this hidden domain involves the Church's role as custodian of ancient wisdom, from Mesopotamian cuneiform to Egyptian papyrus, from Greco-Roman manuscripts to early Christian writings later suppressed. The Vatican allegedly houses records detailing technological, philosophical, and cosmological knowledge that challenges conventional history. While the public narrative emphasizes faith, obedience, and morality. The archives reportedly preserve evidence of human ingenuity and understanding that predates or even exceeds what is commonly recognized. These texts, carefully controlled and often inaccessible, suggest a deliberate curation of knowledge. Some preserved for posterity, others withheld to maintain institutional authority. Equally compelling are rumors of artifacts with mysterious or inexplicable properties. Objects once venerated by pagan civilizations, relics linked to biblical figures, and items described in ancient alchemical and mystical texts are said to be stored under extreme secrecy. Some allegedly exhibit physical or energetic properties that defy scientific explanation, emitting light, vibrations, or reactions that cannot be reproduced under normal conditions. Scholars who have glimpsed these reports suggest that such items were not merely collected for preservation, but studied, cataloged, and sometimes experimented upon to understand their potential impact on human perception, belief, and behavior. The Vatican's pursuit of knowledge extends into the realm of human psychology. Controversial accounts suggest that experiments were conducted to observe obedience, faith, fear, and cognition, often under controlled conditions. While framed as theological inquiry or spiritual study, these experiments appear to have had practical implications. Understanding how belief shapes perception, how authority governs behavior, and how populations can be influenced or guided without overt coercion. If true, this research suggests a sophisticated awareness of power beyond conventional spiritual or political domains. The Church's influence over history is inseparable from its hidden knowledge. Throughout the centuries, papal decisions, alliances, and interventions have shaped nations, determined the outcome of wars, and guided societal evolution. Records hint at careful orchestration, sometimes subtle, sometimes forceful, designed to protect both faith and institutional authority. Those who venture too close to forbidden knowledge occasionally face silencing, disappearance, or the quiet curtailing of their influence. The secrecy surrounding these interventions suggests a deliberate system of control that extends far beyond spiritual guidance into the fabric of history itself. Even phenomena considered miraculous or supernatural were reportedly scrutinized under scientific and observational methods. Apparitions, unexplained events, and extraordinary claims were meticulously recorded, analyzed, and cataloged. In effect, the Vatican became both spiritual guide and researcher of the extraordinary, carefully balancing devotion with control. Artifacts, texts, and knowledge alone are not the full story. The most significant power lies in the culture of secrecy itself. Access to sensitive materials is tightly controlled, and those who glimpse them are often bound by oaths or fear of reprisal. Careers, reputations, and even lives have been affected by curiosity too bold or questions too probing. This enforced silence ensures that even knowledge retained within the Church rarely escapes into public awareness, allowing centuries of hidden insight to accumulate undisturbed. The consequences of this secrecy are staggering. Apparitions, unexplained events, and so-called miracles were cataloged, studied, and cross-referenced in detail. Vatican observers reportedly recorded environmental conditions, behavioral responses, and recurring patterns, seeking not only to authenticate the events, but to understand their mechanisms. Some researchers believe these records hint at phenomena that defy conventional scientific explanation, suggesting that the Church studied the extraordinary long before science could categorize it. Perhaps the most disturbing aspect is the culture of silence surrounding all of these secrets. Access is strictly limited, and those who gain insight are often bound by oaths, fear, or career consequences. Scholars, archivists, and insiders who encounter sensitive materials frequently face reassignment, marginalization, or the quiet suppression of their work. This ensures that the knowledge remains controlled, inaccessible, and mysterious to the wider world, even as it accumulates across centuries. The implications of this secrecy are staggering. Humanity may have walked through history with blind spots, carefully curated by one of the most powerful institutions in existence. Technologies, philosophies, or insights that could have accelerated science, understanding, and human potential may have been deliberately withheld by controlling access to knowledge. The Vatican has shaped not only spiritual belief, but the trajectory of civilization itself. Ultimately, the Vatican is more than a religious institution. It is a labyrinth of secrecy, a repository of forbidden wisdom, and a guardian of truths humanity may not yet be ready to confront. The sacred doors we see are only a facade. Behind them lies centuries of knowledge, power, and influence. Carefully curated, controlled, and concealed. The haunting question persists. If the Church has spent generations preserving and manipulating what humanity may or may not know, what else lies hidden, silently shaping our understanding of the world and ourselves? The Vatican has long been portrayed as a sanctuary of faith, art, and learning, a spiritual center whose influence reaches across the globe. Lies a more complex and shadowed reality. Centuries of secrecy, forbidden knowledge, and deliberate concealment suggest that the Church is as much a custodian of hidden truths as it is a guardian of spiritual authority. Within its walls may lie information capable of reshaping our understanding of history, science, and even human potential. One of the most mysterious aspects concerns the Vatican's role as a repository of forbidden or suppressed knowledge. Across centuries, texts from ancient civilizations, Egyptian hieroglyphs, Sumerian tablets, Greco-Roman manuscripts, and early Christian writings were collected, preserved, and often hidden from the public. Many of these documents allegedly describe advanced technologies, philosophical systems, and cosmologies far beyond the understanding of their times. The Church, some historians suggest, preserved these works not merely for posterity, but to control what humanity was allowed to know and understand. Artifacts are another dimension of these secrets. Objects obtained from archaeological excavations, diplomatic missions, and historical collections are reportedly stored under extreme secrecy. Some are described as having inexplicable properties altering perception, affecting cognition, or demonstrating energies that defy conventional science. Others contain coded messages or knowledge that, if deciphered, could fundamentally challenge contemporary understanding of physics, biology, or human consciousness. These relics, hidden from public view, suggest that the Vatican has not only preserved history, but has studied it in ways most of the world cannot imagine. The Church's influence extends beyond objects and texts into the realm of human behavior. The consequences of this secrecy are staggering. Humanity may have progressed along a path, carefully guided or constrained by what the Church allowed it to see. Humanity lost technologies, suppressed histories, and restricted knowledge of human potential may have delayed scientific, spiritual, or philosophical breakthroughs by controlling information. The Vatican has shaped not only belief, but the very framework through which civilizations understand themselves. Ultimately, the Vatican emerges as more than a religious institution. It is a labyrinth of secrecy, a guardian of lost wisdom, and a repository of truths that could challenge the very foundations of history, science, and spirituality. Behind its sacred walls lies knowledge that humanity may not yet be prepared to confront, and the most haunting question remains. If centuries of discoveries, experiments, and concealed truths exist beyond reach, how much of reality as we perceive it has been deliberately curated? And what awaits us if those hidden truths are ever revealed? Throughout its history, the Vatican has existed not only as a spiritual center, but also as a fortress of knowledge, an institution that has meticulously collected, preserved, and controlled information spanning centuries. Civilizations and continents, while the faithful see only rituals, doctrine, and devotion, a far more complex narrative unfolds behind closed doors, one of secrets, suppressed histories, and knowledge deliberately withheld from the world. Are the artifacts the Church has safeguarded? Many were acquired. During conquests, crusades, or diplomatic exchanges, objects from ancient Egypt, Mesopotamia, and classical Greece reportedly reside in vaults inaccessible to the public. Some are said to hold properties or designs so advanced that they challenge our understanding of ancient technology. Others are linked to esoteric rituals or spiritual practices capable of influencing perception and belief, far from mere relics. These items suggest a deliberate effort to control knowledge with the potential to reshape human understanding. Equally compelling is the Vatican's alleged repository of forbidden texts, from early pagan manuscripts to suppressed Christian writings. The Church is rumored to have preserved knowledge that could challenge official narratives. Some codices describe philosophical systems, metaphysical theories, or technological insights lost to history. Others contain accounts of historical events that contradict the accepted timeline, hinting at civilizations, discoveries, or catastrophes deliberately hidden from the public record. The Vatican, it seems, has acted as both a guardian and a gatekeeper of human history. Psychology and human behavior are also deeply intertwined with these secrets. Accounts suggest that the Church conducted experiments, sometimes indirect, sometimes overt, on obedience, perception, and belief. Clerics and scholars were reportedly observed under controlled conditions to understand how faith, authority, and ritual could shape cognition and action. Such studies blur the line between spiritual guidance and manipulation, raising profound ethical questions. What was framed as theological inquiry may have been, in some cases, a form of human experimentation designed to ensure institutional control over centuries. The Vatican's influence on global politics is another layer of this hidden history. From the corridors of European courts to distant colonies, popes and cardinals wielded influence often more effectively than kings or generals. Diplomatic correspondence, secret treaties, and intelligence networks allegedly allowed the Church to shape wars, alliances, and societal shifts, all while maintaining an image of spiritual neutrality. Knowledge, in this context, became a tool of power. Controlling information meant controlling outcomes. Even miraculous and supernatural phenomena were scrutinized in ways the public rarely sees. Reports and testimonies hint at carefully documented studies on obedience, faith, and perception. Some of these experiments were indirect, observing societal responses to ritual or belief, while others were reportedly more controlled, designed to test limits of fear, loyalty, or cognition. While framed as theological inquiry, these observations provided insights into how belief and authority could be used to shape individuals and societies, creating a subtle but profound form of influence. Political power has always been closely linked to these hidden activities. The Vatican historically engaged in diplomacy, surveillance, and covert intervention in ways that rivaled monarchies and empires, popes and cardinals, influenced wars, treaties, and succession. Often using information and secrecy as primary tools, in some cases, entire events may have been subtly steered to protect the Church's interests or maintain societal stability. The line between spiritual guidance and political strategy was frequently blurred, suggesting a sophisticated understanding of both power and control. Even phenomena considered miraculous were not beyond study. Apparitions, unexplainable occurrences, and seemingly divine interventions were meticulously recorded. With attention paid to environmental conditions, witnesses, psychological states, and patterns of repetition, internal accounts suggest that some of these phenomena were analyzed in ways approaching scientific observation, as the Church sought not just to validate miracles, but to understand the mechanisms behind them. Some researchers speculate that these records could reveal knowledge about human perception, energy, and reality itself, data never intended for public scrutiny. The culture of secrecy surrounding these archives, artifacts, and records is crucial to understanding their power. Access is tightly controlled, often limited to a small circle of trusted officials. Those who breach protocol may face career consequences, marginalization, or other measures designed to enforce silence. Over centuries, this ensured that even if knowledge existed, it remained inaccessible, allowing the Church to maintain authority not only over belief, but over the narrative of history itself. The implications are profound. Humanity may have moved through centuries unaware of technologies, philosophies, or insights that were deliberately withheld. Scientific advancement, spiritual understanding, and historical awareness may have been constrained, guided, or delayed by decisions made behind closed doors. Knowledge, carefully curated and controlled, has become an instrument of power in ways most of the world cannot imagine. Ultimately, the Vatican is not merely a spiritual institution. It is a labyrinth of secrecy, a guardian of forbidden knowledge, and a curator of truths humanity may not yet be ready to confront. The sacred spaces we see above ground mask an empire of information, influence, and power accumulated over millennia, and the most unsettling question persists. If the Church has spent centuries controlling what humanity may know, what else lies hidden within its walls? Secrets that could redefine history, science, and our very understanding of reality itself. The Vatican remains both a sanctuary and a mystery, its silent corridors holding knowledge, influence, and power beyond imagination. The world may only ever see the surface, while the deeper truths, carefully concealed, continue to shape the course of civilization in ways we can scarcely comprehend. The Vatican's influence has always extended far beyond matters of faith, while pilgrims and tourists admire its art, architecture, and religious relics. A hidden dimension exists, one defined by secrecy, control of information, and preservation of knowledge that the public has rarely been allowed to see. Behind its sacred doors lies a labyrinth of archives, vaults, and restricted spaces containing records, artifacts, and manuscripts that, if revealed, could fundamentally challenge our understanding of history, science, and even human nature. Many researchers argue that the Church has acted as both a preserver and a censor of human knowledge. Ancient texts from civilizations, long-lost Egyptian, Mesopotamian, Greek, and early Christian, are said to have been carefully stored within the Vatican archives. Some manuscripts describe advanced technologies, sophisticated cosmologies, and philosophical frameworks far ahead of their time. Rather than letting this knowledge circulate freely, the Church allegedly controlled access, preserving these discoveries while shaping the narrative humanity would inherit. In essence, it curated history, determining which truths the world could handle and which had to remain hidden. Artifacts within the Vatican add another layer to its secrets. Some are rumored to possess properties that defy explanation, objects that may influence perception, emit unexplained energies, or encode lost knowledge from ancient civilizations. While some were publicly displayed to inspire devotion, many were locked away, studied privately, and protected from those deemed unprepared. The implication is that the Church understood the power of these items, not only as spiritual symbols, but as instruments capable of shaping human experience and belief. The Vatican's engagement with human behavior extends to psychological observation and experimentation. Scholars and clerics reportedly monitored responses to rituals, obedience, and belief. Sometimes under controlled conditions, some accounts suggest studies on fear, perception, and loyalty assessments of how authority and ritual could influence thought and behavior. Though framed as spiritual inquiry, these investigations may have functioned as sophisticated methods for understanding and managing populations, providing the Church with tools of influence far beyond theology. Politically, the Vatican's power has often been invisible, yet decisive. Popes and cardinals historically manipulated alliances, succession disputes, and even the outcomes of wars. Secret correspondence, clandestine treaties, and intelligence networks allowed the Church to shape events on a global scale without overt confrontation. Combined with its archival knowledge of human behavior, religious influence, and ancient wisdom, This capacity made the Vatican one of the most powerful institutions in the world, not only spiritually, but strategically. Even supernatural phenomena were carefully scrutinized. Apparitions, miracles, and unexplained events were often documented with extraordinary detail. Witness behavior, environmental factors, and patterns of recurrence were all recorded. The Church's approach suggests that miracles were not only matters of faith, but also objects of study. As investigators attempted to understand the mechanisms behind extraordinary experiences, some researchers argue that these records could contain insights into human consciousness, perception, and possibly forces beyond conventional scientific explanation. Secrecy has been the linchpin of the Vatican's power. Access to sensitive archives, artifacts, and manuscripts is strictly controlled, with oaths, restrictions, and penalties enforcing silence. Scholars who glimpse hidden documents are often bound by non-disclosure, and history records numerous cases of individuals marginalized or removed after crossing certain boundaries. This culture ensures that knowledge accumulates in controlled layers, invisible to the public while profoundly shaping decisions, doctrines, and even the course of history itself. The consequences of this concealment are immense. Humanity may have walked centuries of progress without access to insights, technologies, or wisdom that could have accelerated science, philosophy, or spiritual understanding. What we know of history, society, and human potential may be a curated version of reality, carefully designed to maintain order, faith, and institutional authority. Ultimately, the Vatican is far more than a religious institution. It is a labyrinth of hidden knowledge, a guardian of secrets, and a silent influencer of civilizations. Its power lies not only in faith, but in control over what humanity is allowed to know, see, and believe. The haunting question remains: if centuries of human knowledge, suppressed histories, and forbidden truths are hidden within its walls, what will be revealed when, if ever, these secrets finally emerge? And how will the world respond when the full magnitude of the Vatican's hidden influence comes to light? The Church stands as both a sanctuary and a shadowed empire, where devotion meets secrecy, and history is carefully curated in silence. Its hidden corridors, vaults, and archives may hold the key to truths humanity has long been denied, waiting for the day they can no longer remain concealed. The Vatican has long been regarded as the ultimate seat of spiritual authority, a city-state that embodies centuries of faith, tradition, and religious ceremony. But beneath the surface of sacred rituals, elaborate art, and golden mosaics, lies a world few ever glimpsed, a world of secrets, hidden knowledge, and deliberate concealment. Researchers, whistleblowers, and historians have suggested that the Church's archives contain not just theological writings, but records that challenge the conventional understanding of history, science, and human civilization itself. Much of this secrecy revolves around knowledge the Church deemed too powerful or too dangerous for public consumption. Ancient manuscripts, codices, and scrolls collected from Egypt, Mesopotamia, Greece, and early Christian communities allegedly describe technologies, mathematical insights, and cosmological theories far beyond their time. Some of these texts are said to detail inventions, astronomical observations, and philosophical concepts that, if fully understood, could alter humanity's perception of itself and its history by preserving but restricting access to these works. The Vatican may have ensured that knowledge remained controlled. Preventing the world from seeing its full scope, artifacts play a similarly mysterious role. Some relics, beyond their spiritual or symbolic significance, are believed to carry inexplicable properties. Reports suggest items that emit strange energies, respond to human presence, or encode information in ways not yet understood by modern science. While certain relics were displayed publicly to inspire devotion, many others were locked in secret vaults, studied in isolation, and protected from those deemed unprepared. The careful curation of these objects reflects a sophisticated awareness of the power of information, perception, and influence. The Vatican's interest in human behavior further illustrates the depth of its hidden knowledge. According to some controversial accounts, the Church conducted careful observations and even experiments on obedience, perception, and cognition. Clerics, scholars, and occasionally lay participants were monitored under conditions that tested belief, loyalty, and the human response to ritual or authority. While framed as spiritual guidance, these activities may have had a dual purpose, understanding the mechanics of influence and control, creating a form of soft power that extended far beyond doctrine. Political maneuvering has long been intertwined with these secrets. Popes and cardinals influenced succession disputes, wars, and alliances across Europe, using intelligence, diplomacy, and occasionally covert intervention to shape outcomes. Knowledge of human psychology, hidden archives, and esoteric wisdom amplified this influence, allowing the Church to act not merely as a religious authority, but as a strategic power player on the world stage. In many ways, control of information proved more decisive than armies or wealth. Even events framed as miraculous were subject to scrutiny. Apparitions, miracles, and unexplained phenomena were meticulously documented witness behavior, environmental conditions, and patterns of recurrence recorded for study. The Church sought not only to verify miracles for the faithful, but to understand the underlying mechanisms, sometimes bordering on what we might now call scientific inquiry. Some researchers speculate that these internal studies reveal insights into human perception, consciousness, and forces that lie beyond conventional explanation. Secrecy has been the foundation of the Vatican's enduring influence. Access to sensitive archives and relics is tightly controlled, with layers of oversight, oaths, and restrictions designed to enforce silence. Scholars who encounter restricted materials often face career consequences, while those who challenge boundaries risk marginalization or more severe reprisals. This culture ensures that knowledge accumulates in isolation, inaccessible to the broader world, and that the Church maintains authority not only over belief, but over the very narrative of history itself. The consequences of the secrecy are profound. Humanity may have moved through centuries without access to technologies, philosophical systems, or historical truths that could have transformed civilization. Scientific discovery, spiritual insight, and social progress may have been delayed or guided. According to what the Church deemed acceptable by controlling information, the Vatican has exercised influence not just over faith, but over the trajectory of human development. Ultimately, the Vatican is far more than a religious institution. It is a vault of hidden knowledge, a curator of forbidden wisdom, and a silent architect of history. Its influence lies as much in what it conceals as in what it reveals. The haunting question persists. If centuries of human discovery, lost technologies, and suppressed truths remain behind its walls, what awaits humanity when these secrets are finally uncovered? The Church is not merely a city of faith, it is a fortress of secrecy, guarding knowledge that could redefine history, science, and the human understanding of the world itself. Behind the sacred facades lies a shadowed empire of information, waiting silently for the day when its full truths might emerge. The Vatican's influence over humanity extends far beyond the rituals, art, and theology that the public sees. For centuries, it has been a silent guardian of knowledge, some sacred, some forbidden, and some so powerful that their disclosure could change the course of history. Beneath its grand architecture, the Church has maintained archives, vaults, and hidden chambers filled with manuscripts, relics, and artifacts that few have ever glimpsed. These secrets, carefully preserved and tightly controlled, suggest that the Vatican has been more than a spiritual authority. It has been a curator of human history itself. Among the most compelling aspects of the Vatican's hidden knowledge are the ancient texts and codices stored in its archives. These manuscripts allegedly include records from Egypt, Mesopotamia, and early Christian communities that describe advanced sciences, technologies, and philosophical systems long lost to the modern world. Some of these works reportedly contain astronomical calculations, engineering knowledge, and methods for understanding natural forces that challenge conventional narratives about the progression of human civilization. By restricting access, the Church may have deliberately shaped humanity's understanding of history and delayed discoveries that could have accelerated societal development. Artifacts held within the Vatican form another layer of its hidden influence. Many of these objects are described as possessing unusual or inexplicable properties, emitting energy, reacting to human presence, or encoding information beyond contemporary comprehension. While some relics were publicly venerated, others were locked away, studied in secret, and protected to prevent misuse or misinterpretation. The careful preservation and curation of these items suggest that the Church understood the potential impact of knowledge and the danger of revealing it too soon. The study of human behavior is also central to the Vatican's hidden history. Accounts from scholars and insiders hint at controlled observations of obedience, perception, and cognition. Clerics, researchers, and select participants were monitored under conditions that tested faith, loyalty, and response to authority. These activities, while framed as spiritual or theological inquiry, reveal a sophisticated understanding of influence and control. The Church appears to have studied not only belief, but also the mechanisms by which belief shapes behavior, insights that could be applied to populations on a societal scale. Political influence has historically intertwined with these hidden activities, from the negotiation of alliances and the mediation of wars, to the quiet shaping of monarchic successions. The Vatican often acted as a strategic power player behind the scenes. Knowledge from archives, combined with intelligence networks and esoteric wisdom, amplified the Church's ability to intervene subtly in global events. In this way, control over information became as crucial as spiritual authority in determining outcomes, allowing the Church to guide the course of history in ways largely invisible to the public. Even extraordinary phenomena were subject to rigorous internal study. Miracles, apparitions, and unexplained events were documented with careful attention to environmental conditions, witness accounts, and patterns of repetition. The Church's investigators sought to verify authenticity, but also to understand mechanisms, sometimes approaching what modern observers might call scientific inquiry. Some researchers speculate that these records may reveal knowledge about human consciousness, energy, or forces beyond conventional explanation, insights that remain inaccessible to the world. Secrecy itself is a defining feature of the Vatican's power. Access to archives, relics, and restricted manuscripts is tightly controlled, and strict protocols enforce confidentiality. Scholars or insiders who encounter sensitive knowledge often face career restrictions or enforced silence, ensuring that the most powerful truths remain contained. Over centuries, this culture of secrecy has allowed the Church to preserve information that could influence humanity on spiritual, intellectual, and societal levels. Without public scrutiny, the implications are staggering. Humanity may have been denied centuries of scientific, philosophical, and historical insight that could have accelerated understanding and development. By controlling access to knowledge, the Vatican has influenced not only faith, but the trajectory of civilization itself, carefully curating what the world was allowed to know ultimately. The Vatican emerges as far more than a religious institution. It is a labyrinth of concealed knowledge, a guardian of hidden wisdom, and a silent architect shaping human history. Behind the sacred facades and grand ceremonies lies a vault of secrets that could redefine humanity's understanding of itself, and the haunting question persists. If centuries of knowledge, technology, and suppressed truths remain hidden within these walls, how much of our world has been shaped by what we will never see, and how much more remains concealed, waiting for the day it may finally be revealed? The Vatican is a city of faith, but it is also a fortress of secrecy. Its hidden corridors and vaults guarding truths whose full power the world may not yet be ready to face. The Vatican, often seen as the spiritual heart of the Catholic Church, hides layers of influence, knowledge, and secrets that extend far beyond its religious mission. While pilgrims marvel at its architecture, art, and relics, a far more hidden dimension exists behind closed doors, a dimension filled with manuscripts, artifacts, and records that could radically alter our understanding of history, science, and human civilization itself. For centuries, the Church has acted as both guardian and gatekeeper of knowledge, deciding what the world may know and what must remain concealed. Much of this secrecy revolves around ancient texts that were deliberately preserved and restricted. The Vatican's archives reportedly include codices and manuscripts from civilizations such as Egypt, Mesopotamia, and Greece, alongside early Christian writings that were suppressed or omitted from public canon. These texts allegedly describe advanced mathematics, engineering, astronomy, and cosmology knowledge that exceeds what historians previously believed these societies could understand. By restricting access to these works, the Church may have deliberately controlled the narrative of human history, shaping what the world could see, learn, or believe. Artifacts form another layer of this concealed influence. Beyond their symbolic and religious significance, many relics reportedly carry properties that defy explanation, emitting unusual energies, responding to human presence, or encoding lost knowledge in ways modern science cannot yet decipher. While certain relics were displayed for devotional purposes, many were locked away in vaults, studied privately, and protected to prevent misuse or premature exposure. These objects suggest that the Church understood the potential consequences of revealing certain truths, wielding knowledge itself as a subtle form of control. The study of human behavior also intersects with these secrets. Accounts from scholars and insiders describe careful observation and controlled experiments concerning obedience, perception, and belief. Clerics and researchers reportedly studied how rituals, authority, and faith influence thought and action. Although framed as spiritual inquiry, such investigations may have also provided insights into social influence, population control, and the human mind, offering the Church a form of knowledge that transcends theology and enters the realm of power and manipulation. Politically, the Vatican has historically used its access to hidden knowledge to exert influence. Through covert diplomacy, intelligence gathering, and strategic alliances, the Church has quietly shaped wars, succession disputes, and international negotiations. Knowledge of history, human behavior, and esoteric wisdom amplified this influence, allowing the Vatican to act as a silent architect of events that would shape nations. In many cases, information proved more potent than armies or wealth, giving the Church a unique form of authority over global outcomes. Even the miraculous and supernatural were subject to scrutiny, apparitions, unexplainable phenomena, and so-called miracles were meticulously documented. With careful attention to environmental conditions, witness behavior, and recurring patterns, internal reports suggest that the Church not only sought to validate these events for faith purposes, but also to understand their mechanisms, sometimes in ways that approach scientific observation. Some researchers believe that these records may contain knowledge about human consciousness, unseen forces, or energy patterns that remain inaccessible to the public. Secrecy itself is a cornerstone of the Vatican's power. Access to the most sensitive archives, relics, and manuscripts is tightly controlled. Scholars who encounter restricted knowledge are often bound by oaths, confidentiality, and career consequences, ensuring that what is preserved remains inaccessible to the wider world. Over centuries, this culture of secrecy has allowed the Church to accumulate knowledge and maintain authority, guiding both spiritual and societal development in ways largely invisible to the public. The consequences of this concealment are profound. Humanity may have walked centuries without access to scientific, philosophical, and historical truths that could have accelerated discovery, understanding, and progress. Technologies, ideas, and insights may have been delayed or suppressed, shaped by decisions made behind closed doors to maintain institutional control and social stability. Ultimately, the Vatican is far more than a spiritual institution. It is a labyrinth of hidden knowledge, a guardian of forbidden wisdom and a silent architect influencing human history behind its sacred walls, lies a vault of secrets that could redefine faith, science, and civilization itself. And the haunting question persists. If centuries of discoveries, suppressed knowledge, and forbidden truths remain concealed, how much of humanity's understanding of the world has been curated? And how long will it be before these hidden truths emerge? The Vatican remains both a sanctuary of faith and a fortress of secrecy, guarding knowledge and influence that humanity may not yet be ready to face. Its silent corridors hide truths that could alter everything we believe about our history, our world, and ourselves. The Vatican has long been revered as a center of faith, devotion, and sacred tradition. Yet beneath its gilded halls and holy altars lies a dimension of secrecy and hidden knowledge that few outsiders have ever glimpsed. While the faithful admire the grandeur of its basilicas and the beauty of its art, the Church is also said to guard manuscripts, relics, and records that could fundamentally alter our understanding of human history, science, and the very nature of reality itself. These secrets, accumulated over centuries, form a shadow dimension of influence, power, and control, meticulously curated to shape what humanity may and may not know. At the heart of this hidden domain are ancient texts and codices collected from civilizations long lost to time. Egyptian papyrus, Sumerian clay tablets, Greco-Roman scrolls, and suppressed early Christian writings are rumored to reside in the Vatican's secret archives, many inaccessible to even the most senior scholars. Some of these manuscripts describe technologies, astronomical systems, and philosophical frameworks that surpassed what historians previously believed was possible for ancient societies. Others reportedly contain accounts of civilizations, catastrophes, and scientific discoveries omitted from public knowledge, carefully preserved, yet hidden, to maintain a controlled narrative of human progress. Artifacts, too, are central to the Vatican's hidden power. Many relics, while ostensibly religious, are said to possess unexplained properties emitting energy, interacting with human consciousness, or containing encoded knowledge. Some items allegedly date back to ancient civilizations, whose mastery of natural forces and metaphysical principles exceeded modern understanding. While certain relics are displayed to the public, others are locked away in secret vaults, monitored and studied privately. The curation and study of these objects suggests that the Church recognized their potential to influence perception, belief, and even the course of events in ways that extend beyond mere spirituality. Human behavior has long been a focus of the Vatican's secret investigations. Historical accounts and testimonies from insiders suggest that the Church observed obedience, perception, and cognitive responses in controlled settings. Clerics, scholars, and sometimes lay participants were monitored to understand the effects of ritual, authority, and belief on human action. While framed as theological or spiritual study, these experiments reveal a sophisticated understanding of psychology and influence tools that could be used to guide populations, manage dissent, and maintain institutional control over centuries. Political influence intersects with these hidden dimensions of knowledge, from the Renaissance through modern times. Popes and cardinals used intelligence, diplomacy, and clandestine communication to shape wars, succession disputes, and international negotiations, combined with access to forbidden knowledge, esoteric texts, and psychological insight. The Church exercised influence that rivaled kingdoms and empires, often invisibly. The Vatican's ability to act behind the scenes, shaping outcomes without overt power, reflects a mastery of strategy that few institutions could match. Miraculous and supernatural phenomena were also subject to scrutiny. Apparitions, unexplained events, and reported miracles were meticulously documented. Environmental conditions, Witness responses and recurring patterns were all recorded in internal reports, suggesting that the Church sought not only to verify divine intervention, but to understand the underlying mechanisms. Some researchers speculate that these records could contain insights into human consciousness, perception, and energies beyond current scientific comprehension, providing a deeper understanding of phenomena often dismissed as purely spiritual. Secrecy is the key to the Vatican's enduring influence. Access to its most sensitive archives, artifacts, and manuscripts is tightly controlled with multiple layers of oversight and strict confidentiality. Scholars and insiders who encounter forbidden knowledge are often bound by oaths, legal restrictions, or threats to their careers, ensuring that the most powerful truths remain inaccessible to the world. This culture of silence has allowed the Church to preserve and control knowledge over centuries, shaping both belief and history without public scrutiny. The consequences of such concealment are staggering. Humanity may have traversed centuries of development without access to scientific insights, lost technologies, or philosophical frameworks that could have accelerated understanding and progress. The curated nature of information, combined with controlled narratives, suggests that human history itself may have been guided, at least in part, by what the Church deemed appropriate for public knowledge. Ultimately, the Vatican is far more than a spiritual institution. It is a labyrinth of secrecy, a guardian of forbidden wisdom, and a silent architect of history. Its sacred halls conceal knowledge that, if fully revealed, could challenge everything humanity believes about itself, its past, and its potential. And the haunting question remains: if centuries of discoveries, suppressed knowledge, and hidden truths are locked behind these walls, how much of our world has been shaped by what we have never been allowed to see? The Vatican is both sanctuary and shadowed empire, where devotion meets secrecy, and hidden corridors guard truths humanity may not yet be ready to confront. Its silent power has persisted for centuries, waiting for the day when its deepest secrets might finally emerge into the light. The deeper one explores the Vatican's history, the clearer it becomes that its influence is rooted not only in spiritual authority, but in control over knowledge. Knowledge that has been meticulously preserved, categorized, and sometimes concealed for centuries. Behind the grandeur of St. Peter's Basilica, the opulence of its chapels, and the awe-inspiring art, there exists a shadow world of hidden chambers, secret vaults, and restricted archives. These spaces hold manuscripts, relics, and records that could fundamentally alter humanity's understanding of history, science, and consciousness. Yet they remain largely inaccessible to the outside world. Among the most mysterious elements of the Vatican's hidden collection are the forbidden texts. Scholars and insiders have long speculated that the archives contain works from ancient civilizations, Sumerian, Egyptian, Greco-Roman, that describe technologies, engineering techniques, and astronomical calculations far ahead of their time. Some texts reportedly reveal philosophical and metaphysical frameworks that challenge conventional belief systems, presenting ideas about consciousness, energy, and the nature of reality that modern science has only begun to explore. The Church, acting as guardian and gatekeeper, has maintained strict control over these works, restricting access, and ensuring that humanity only learns what the institution deems appropriate. Artifacts are another critical component of the Vatican's hidden influence. Beyond their spiritual significance, some relics are said to exhibit properties that defy scientific explanation, emitting energy, reacting to human presence, or encoding knowledge and forms that are yet to be deciphered. These objects, carefully curated and preserved in secret vaults, suggest that the Church understood their potential to influence perception, belief, and even societal outcomes. While certain relics are displayed publicly to inspire faith, countless others are hidden from view, protected by layers of secrecy and surveillance. The study of human behavior has also been central to the Vatican's secret operations. A count suggests that the Church observed and recorded obedience, perception, and cognition, sometimes conducting controlled experiments. Clerics and scholars reportedly studied the effects of ritual, authority, and belief on thought and action, seeking to understand how faith could be harnessed as a tool of influence. Although framed as spiritual inquiry, these investigations suggest a sophisticated grasp of human psychology, one that allowed the Church to subtly guide populations, maintain social order, and reinforce institutional authority. Across centuries, political influence has always been intertwined with these hidden layers of knowledge. Throughout history, popes and cardinals exercised subtle control over wars, alliances, and dynastic disputes. They often relied on intelligence networks, covert diplomacy, and insights gleaned from secret knowledge to shape events without revealing their hand. By combining access to ancient texts, artifacts, and psychological insights, the Church acted as a silent architect, manipulating outcomes and preserving its authority in ways that rivaled the power of empires. Knowledge itself became the ultimate form of power. Even miracles, apparitions, and unexplainable phenomena were subjected to careful documentation and study. Internal records suggest that environmental factors, witness behavior, and recurring patterns were meticulously noted, indicating that the Church aimed not only to validate spiritual experiences, but also to understand the mechanisms behind them. Some researchers propose that these observations could reveal truths about human consciousness, energy, and the unseen forces that shape reality. Knowledge that remains hidden from the public, secrecy has always been essential to the Vatican's enduring power. Access to its archives, vaults, and relics is tightly controlled, often limited to select clergy and trusted scholars. Breaches of protocol can result in career consequences, forced silence, or more severe measures, ensuring that knowledge remains contained and influence unchallenged. This culture of secrecy has allowed the Church to preserve and control information for centuries, shaping not only belief, but also historical narratives, scientific progress, and societal development. The consequences of these hidden truths are profound. Humanity may have progressed without access to technologies, insights, or philosophical frameworks that could have accelerated discovery and understanding. Historical narratives may have been curated, delayed, or suppressed. Guided by the Church's assessment of what the world was prepared to know, by controlling knowledge, the Vatican has exercised a form of influence that transcends spiritual guidance, reaching into the very fabric of civilization itself. Ultimately, the Vatican is far more than a place of worship. It is a labyrinth of secrecy, a vault of forbidden wisdom, and a silent architect of human history. Its sacred halls conceal knowledge that could redefine our understanding of reality, history, and human potential, and the haunting question persists. If centuries of discoveries, lost technologies, and suppressed truths remain hidden within its walls, how much of the world we know has been shaped by what we cannot see? The Vatican stands as both sanctuary and fortress, where faith meets secrecy and knowledge is guarded with unparalleled vigilance. Its silent corridors hide truths that may one day emerge, revealing a history and a world far more complex and far more powerful than humanity has ever imagined. The Vatican has always projected an image of sanctity, devotion, and timeless tradition. Yet beneath its sacred halls lies a dimension of unparalleled secrecy. For centuries, it has not merely been a spiritual center but a guardian of knowledge. Knowledge that spans civilizations, epochs, and realms of human understanding. Within its hidden vaults, the Church is believed to have preserved manuscripts, relics, and records that could challenge the foundations of history, science, and human consciousness itself. This hidden dimension reflects an institution acutely aware of the power of information, its influence, and the consequences of disclosure. At the heart of these secrets are the manuscripts and codices from ancient civilizations, Egypt, Mesopotamia, Greece, and early Christian communities. These texts are said to describe technologies, philosophies, and scientific insights far ahead of their times. Some codices allegedly outline astronomical systems, engineering feats, and cosmological models that surpass modern understanding. Others record historical events, civilizations, and catastrophes deliberately omitted from public records, suggesting a curated approach to knowledge. The Church, as both guardian and gatekeeper, has restricted access to ensure that only select individuals could interpret, study, and comprehend these extraordinary works. Artifacts form another layer of mystery. Many relics, beyond their spiritual significance, reportedly possess properties that defy scientific explanation, emitting energy, responding to human presence, or containing encoded information. Some are linked to ancient rituals, mystical practices, or esoteric knowledge, suggesting that the Church recognized their potential to influence perception, cognition, and societal order. While a few relics are displayed for devotional purposes, the vast majority remain secured in vaults, studied in secrecy, and monitored to prevent misuse or accidental revelation. The study of human behavior also appears central to the Vatican's secret operations. Accounts suggest the Church observed and recorded obedience, perception, and cognitive responses to ritual and authority. Clerics, scholars, and sometimes lay participants were monitored under controlled conditions to understand the effects of belief, fear, and loyalty, though framed as spiritual inquiry. These investigations reflect a sophisticated understanding of psychology, offering insights into how populations could be guided, influenced, and managed across centuries. This knowledge allowed the Church to wield power quietly, but effectively, beyond the reach of armies or political treaties. Political maneuvering and strategic influence have long been intertwined with these secrets. Throughout history, the Vatican has shaped wars, diplomatic negotiations, and dynastic succession disputes. By combining intelligence networks, psychological insights, and access to forbidden knowledge, the Church often acted as an unseen architect of global events. Knowledge, rather than force, became the ultimate instrument of control, and the Vatican's influence extended far beyond spiritual guidance into the very fabric of historical outcomes. Even miraculous phenomena were subjected to scrutiny. Apparitions, unexplainable events, and reported miracles were meticulously documented. Environmental factors, witness behavior, and recurring patterns were all recorded, suggesting that the Church sought to understand the mechanisms behind extraordinary occurrences. The haunting question persists. If humanity has been guided by what it has not been allowed to see, how different would the world look if these secrets were finally brought to light? The Vatican is simultaneously a sanctuary of faith and a fortress of concealed knowledge. Its silent corridors, secret vaults, and carefully preserved archives hide truths that could redefine history, science, and the very essence of human understanding. For now, these secrets remain locked away, guarded by centuries of vigilance, shaping humanity from the shadows, while the world marvels at what it can see, but never fully comprehends what lies beneath. The Vatican has stood for centuries as a sanctuary of faith, but it is also a fortress of secrets. Behind every gilded door and silent corridor lies knowledge humanity may not yet be ready to confront. Relics, manuscripts, and hidden truths that could change the way we see history, science, and ourselves. What you've seen today is only the tip of the iceberg. The real question is, how much of our world has been shaped by what we are not allowed to know? The Vatican's mysteries remain unsolved, their secrets still guarded, but one day, perhaps, the truth will emerge from the shadows. Until then, remember, history is rarely what it seems, and sometimes the greatest stories are the ones kept in silence.